bank account. And I wasn't able to truly see what each property was generating and where the expenses were going or the taxes for those. So that was a rookie mistake that I made at the beginning of my journey, but I learned the hard way when it was tax season. And from that moment, I made a promise to myself that I am going to make sure that I run my business, manage my cash flow properly, because I do not want this to happen to me again, where because of mismanagement, I was paying so much money in taxes. And when things happen, I just did not have the money for it, because I was like, where did that money go? Like, so I'm going to invite Zoe Chen from Relay Financial. She's the marketing partner. Oh, my gosh, for Relay Financial. And she's literally going to walk us through how to master your cash management and using the profit first method. So please welcome Zoe in the chat with some applaud emoji, some fire emoji. Please give her a warm welcome, you guys. Again, I go off your energy. I want you guys to find value. This is not going to be boring. So thank you, Paul. I love that applause button. Like, let's go. Okay, Zoe, I'm handing over to you. And again, guys, like, you have questions, raise your hand. This is very interactive as well. When she's going through, I'll also be stopping just for her to clarify certain things and to ask questions as well. So handing over to you, Zoe.
Awesome. Thank you for having me here today. I'm super excited to kind of interact with your group. As mentioned earlier, my name is Zoe. I'm a Relay product specialist, but I'm also a partner marketing manager here. So I work with this community and a lot of other partners to just talk about Relay. I love coming to mastermind communities and webinars like this to like demo the product a bit more, but also give you guys like value and like talk about processes like profit first, and get to know the folks who are in the audience. So I'm going to jump right in to give you guys a quick preview of what we're talking about today. So we're going to talk about some barriers to cash flow management. We're going to talk about obviously profit first, as we've alluded to. And then I'm also going to give you guys a live demo of the Relay Sandbox environment. And then we're also going to leave some time for Q&A. And throughout this whole thing, like my style is, please stop me, interrupt me if you have a question. I see the chat here, so I'll stop and answer questions as we go as well. So like if something comes up, you can ask me that question and we'll stop and kind of answer that as we go as well. But really quickly, since I'm new to this community, you guys may know one another. I would love to know, either like unmute yourselves or maybe put in the chat for the folks who are off camera. Tell me more about what your business is and how long you've been running it. I know there's a lot of real estate investors in this group. So tell me, how long have you been doing it? Maybe how many properties you're in? Like, are you doing private money? Are you doing rental properties? Like what exactly it is? And while we give folks a moment to kind of put their thoughts out there, how about we have the host also like share like her journey so far and let everybody know where she's at?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I would say I'm in the real estate space. I do private lending myself. I also do short-term rentals. I do long-term rentals. And one of the big things before I was doing the profit first model was that I was pooling a lot of my income together in one bank account. And I wasn't able to truly see what each property was generating and where the expenses were going or the taxes for those. So that was a rookie mistake that I made at the beginning of my journey, but I learned the hard way when it was tax season. And from that moment, I made a promise to myself that I am going to make sure that I run my business, manage my cash flow properly, because I do not want this to happen to me again, where because of mismanagement, I was paying so much money in taxes. And when things happen, I just did not have the money for it, because I was like, where did that money go? Like, how did it disappear?
Yeah.
So that's business. I've been doing this, I'll say about 5 years in the real estate space, and the private lending about 2 to 3 years. I've been doing the private lending portion of it as well.
Cool. That is great to hear. I don't know if anybody else, everyone seems to be feeling shy tonight, but if anybody else wants to share their journeys and stories so far, please let us know. While you do that, I also do want to kind of get a pulse. Like, has anybody here, aside from obviously Kalisha, have heard about Relay before? Like, just do an emoji reaction so that I can kind of see. Let's see if any come up.
Let's see. Let us see. Don't be shy. If you haven't, you can say no. That's totally fine.
Yeah, no wrong answers here.
That is totally fine. No. Okay.
Okay, I got a smiley face from April, so I don't know if that's a yes or no, but thank you for your reaction.
Okay.
I'll
Paul
say
is
no. Cool.
okay.
Awesome. Okay, so some folks are Relay aware and some folks haven't heard about us at all. So that is fine. Really, like, obviously I'm here talking about Relay, but I also want to just talk more in depth about Profit First. Oh, another person says yes, so that's great. I mean, I'm not surprised by that because we actually work with a lot of creators and partners in the real estate space. So I'll be surprised if somebody hasn't heard about us from at this point.
Yeah.
But for those of you who haven't, I just want to give you guys a brief intro about Relay. So we're an online banking platform and money management system. So not technically a bank, but we do partner with Thread Bank, which it's through Thread Bank that everything is FDIC insured and all your money is, safe. But Relay itself, like we are a fintech company founded in 2018. Our co-founders have a long history of working in the small business space. And so they saw a lot of the problems that small business owners were facing. Cash flow was one of them. Bank feeds was another. And so they went about building Relay as a fully online banking platform, and we service US registered businesses. So mainly operate in the US, fully online, no physical presence at all. But we have a great support team, so you can kind of call in and email to us anytime. And really, I think where it really took off was a lot of the folks who were initially in the early days signing up for Relay, they told us about Profit First. And so we went and we built a partnership with the Profit First team and Mike McAlwitz himself. And so now we're the official banking platform partner of Profit First as well. And I think last time I checked, there's like 30K plus businesses that are using Relay for Profit First. So it really works for a lot of small business owners, and we'll get into kind of seeing exactly why kind of soon. So really barriers to cash flow, clarity. If you take a look at some of these stats, like the reality is it's tough running a small business. It takes a lot of grit. It takes a lot of endurance. 63% of small businesses, they don't know how much money comes in every single month. This could be tough when you're starting out. I mean, a lot of us, we are not financial experts when we start and decide to run a small business. We are experts in, the areas that we choose to do. If I'm running a marketing agency, I'm a marketing expert, not really a financial expert. And so a lot of the times, a lot of small business owners, they face cash flow crises, and 60% face them at least in their company's lifetime. And so that's a lot. And also 1 in 5 close after a 2-month revenue loss. So if you go 2 months without being positive on the cash flow side, it could be really detrimental to a lot of small business owners. So it's more important really than ever to like have that pulse on your revenue, your profits, how much money you have to spend on expenses and how much money you have to save and how much you have to pay yourself as well. And so really what a lot of small businesses get stuck in is what I call this like check to check survival kind of mentality. In the personal finance world, we call this like living paycheck to paycheck sometimes as well. And so what happens is we're doing ballpark budgeting. I've got like one checking account. It looks like a giant number every single month. So I'm like, okay, I can buy things. I have money. We can do things. But really that doesn't give me full cash flow visibility because, I can't see what is tied up in payments I need to go out to pay myself, what is already tied up for taxes, etc. And so that will also lead to misallocated resources, you're not budgeting properly. And that then comes around to what Kalisha has mentioned, where like you might have issues during tax season because maybe you didn't save for a tax bill. You didn't put enough aside to pay for self-employment taxes or the other types of taxes that you need to pay for. If you have payroll or you run payroll, there are payroll taxes as well. And so there's a lot of things that you might, if you don't have clarity into your cash flow, you're not being prepared for those situations.
And one of the things too is that for persons in here who they do a little bit of what I do, which is raising private money for other real estate investors. And they make something called a connector fee or a consulting fee. And what I try to remind them is like, hey, it's good when you get that check, but just remember, you're still going to have to pay taxes on it. So yes, you would make $5,000 on that. And you're like, that goes in my pocket. But at the end of the day, you need to set money aside from that 5,000 to go towards taxes because you're going to have to pay on that. So take note of that as well.
Exactly. And so really all of this, plus, prohibitive banking that we currently have and we currently see in a lot of traditional banks, is it gives you a lack of clarity and control. And so when I work with a lot of small business owners, when I do these like webinars, I hear that, sometimes their business banking experience can be costly. It could be disconnected. Like my bank does not connect with my other tools that I'm using as a modern business owner, like my payroll system or my accounting system. It might feel unintuitive. I might not even have a mobile app experience, which is really crucial for these days when we are all on the go and really need to access things through a mobile app as well. And then sometimes they're just limiting. They don't do what I need it to do as a modern small business owner. And so really with Relay, we believe that banking should put you in control and give you that clarity so that you can make those real-time smart decisions for your business. And so what that really looks like is obviously all the essential banking things that you might see at a regular traditional bank: FDIC insurance, protection via, Visa zero liability policy for our cards, and then different roles and permission levels so that, if it's you or if you have a team or if you have freelancers that you work with, you can give folks the right amount of permission level so that you can enable them to do their jobs, but without giving up that full control as well. And then in terms of features, we do not only like the regular payment stuff, but there's a bunch of other features that I'll get into deeper when we do the actual like demo, so you guys can see it in real time and what it looks like in the app as well. But to give you a sneak peek of like new things that are coming in as well, like I think the beauty of working at Relay is that we're constantly coming out with new products. And so in addition to the expense management, the payments, the categorized transaction data, and like the streamlined accounts payable that we have, we also have recently released payment links to help folks get paid more easily, and also invoicing, which just got launched last week actually. So I'll walk you guys over like what that looks like again. And all of this is available with the free version of Relay. So we'll kind of cover that as well. I do see a comment in the chat from Ginger: credit cards able to use internationally? Are there international fees if so? Yes, you're able to use that internationally. And then there's just like I think a conversion fee for foreign currencies. Okay. Before I get into the demo though, I just want to talk about what we call like the Relay way. And really like all of our product features and tech stack really falls into these three categories. Some features that help you kind of meticulously organize and understand your cash flow, and then ways to help you spend smarter, and also get paid easily. And then also features to kind of fund your future and to build that nest egg for your business as well. So we'll kind of go over all three of these buckets as we do the demo. But before we even do the demo, I do want to kind of take a step back and also talk about Profit First for anybody who might not know what Profit First is, because I think Profit First is a good methodology and cash flow system to really understand, because it and Relay really goes hand in hand. So really what Profit First is, it's a behavioral cash management system that can help a small business owner really better understand their cash flow. And the way that happens is because we utilize multiple bank accounts to create these different buckets. If you've ever heard about envelope budgeting, that's essentially what Profit First is, but really the business system for it. So envelope budgeting, you might hear that concept a lot in the personal finance world, where you literally have different envelopes and you put all of your like different budget types and put budgets for each of those. In the business world, obviously we're not walking around with like 10 different envelopes. And so this is kind of like the modern digital way of implementing Profit First. And then there's a few additional automated features that can really help you kind of like automate that and make your life easier as well. But to really understand Profit First and where that name came from, if you think about the traditional accounting system, what we're taught in school if you have gone to business school or accounting school, is that it's sales minus expenses equals profit. So you take the revenue that comes from, the sales of a product or service from your company, you subtract the expenses, which includes payroll, technology, like taxes as well. And at the very end, profit is the last thing on that equation. Now, the reason this system is called profit first is because the author, Mike Michalowicz, takes that system, he kind of flips it, and the profit first system is sales minus profit equals expenses. And so what this does is it's basically training your mind to, instead of like taking the expenses out first, after your revenue, you want to set aside money for profit first. So it can be as small as 1% if you're starting out and, cash flow is inconsistent, but you always want to take away that profit first. And then what's actually left at the end is the expenses that you can use to run your business. So that's the fundamental idea of profit first. And then if you take into the account, like putting more things aside, like taxes, payroll, all that other stuff, it gets even more complicated, but it gives you more clarity into like what actual real amount of money you have to run the expenses of your business. And I'll show you guys that as well as we kind of do the demo. But really, to kind of ensure cash flow clarity, and you want to be profitable from your business from the get-go. Like that's a lot of the reason why a lot of people go into business. You need to make sure that you follow that principle of taking profit first. And then really, you can do that by using these multiple bank accounts that you see at the bottom of the screen. So with Profit First, these are the standard 5 accounts at minimum that Mike recommends that you need. You can go simpler, you can go more complex as well. It's so adaptable for any use case in any business. You just kind of pick and choose what works the best for you. But if we're kind of going with Mike's original kind of philosophy and system here, basically what you have is you have your income account. All the money that someone might pay me with, or everything flows into my income account. So if I have a client, for example, I'm a marketing agency and I need my client to pay me an invoice, all that money flows into my income account. That's the account number and the routing number that I am sharing with them. Now, the magic with Profit First comes in via like these percentage rules that you do every single month. So every single month, what happens is you will move the money from your income account into your 4 other accounts using percentages. So you have a profit account set up for Profit First. You have an owner's pay because you got to make sure you pay yourself. That's separate from profit. Owner's pay is paying yourself for running the business. And then there's a tax account. So you are saving for taxes so that, you don't get surprised by a big IRS bill at the end of the year. And then at the very end, operating expenses is what's left over. And that is the amount of money that I have to, maybe pay for technology and tools. If I need to buy materials because I might be a construction company, that will come out of that operating expense account. And so really the money will flow from income into these other accounts using percentages. And in the past, you would have had to done that. Let me show you the next. This is all of the accounts here. In the past, you would have had to done this manually with a traditional bank. But with Relay, we can actually automate that. And so we'll show you how to do that in the platform.
I have one question too. So if you go back to the previous slide, because I just having knowledge of the type of or audience and anyone who's rewatching this is that you guys might see the 15%, 20%, 15%, 50, right? There is no set rule as to you have to do 15% profit. As she said, even if it's 1% for your profit, the goal is to get into the habit and start where you're at. Make it become like a part of the routine. And like, for example, taxes, I know sometimes depending on how your entity is set up, not giving you guys legal advice, I am not, but depending on your tax bracket, it could be 20%, it could be 30%, whatever that is, you can set that, you can go half of it. You can also play around with the figures. If you're like, I don't know where to start by saying, how much money do I make? Okay, I make $5,000. All right, I want to pay, profit is going to be 5%. Calculated, what does 5% look like? For my owner's pay, if I do 20%, what does that look like? $500, I need 600. Then find the percentage. It goes back to simply working the numbers backward and don't assume and don't think that I'm not making enough money to start this practice. So I just wanted to put that out there for anyone who's on here and overthinking as well. There's no right or wrong way how to do this.
Yeah, I think the beauty of Profit First is really it's so customizable. Like the percentages that Mike talks about in his book is what I think if you're been in business for a while, you want to aspire to. But every business is different. So what's even more important is like building those habits, right? So if you're new, start off 1%, start off with smaller numbers, and then build up to a higher percentage for profit and for owner's pay and for taxes. It's totally customizable. I also cannot give financial advice, but I talk to a lot of accountants and bookkeepers, and the way that they work with it with their clients is let's try to get, increase the percentage for profit 1% every quarter or every month. So these are the habits that you want to build for your business. And so the most important thing is just start implementing it and then follow a rhythm and a routine, and then, get to the percentages that you want. Okay, awesome, cool. So these are kind of the 5 foundational accounts. Because it's a real estate audience, I do want to mention that I've spoken to a lot of folks in real estate, and I think an additional account you would want to add on top of these 5 accounts is having a reserve account, like what Kalisha mentioned earlier, for big issues, big repairs that might come up with a rental property. Like if your fridge breaks, if you need to get a new TV. Sometimes, there might be insurance issues, like if a severe weather event happens and that damages your property, you need some sort of reserve account, especially if you have a property for cases like that. And so I know that has saved a lot of folks before in the past. And so you want to potentially add that into this roster as well. Cool. Awesome. And so great. You know about Profit First, but Profit First is not easy to set up sometimes. So a lot of the times when I talk to folks, they say, I don't really have the time to set up. I have to go to the bank. I have to negotiate account fees because, if I go to a bank and I ask for 5 accounts, they look at me like I'm crazy and they ask me why I need 5. And then they're like, I'll give you 5, but you got to pay 5 times the fees. And so sometimes there can be barriers to setting up Profit First at a traditional bank. And so between that and like all the time it may require, especially with real estate business owners, I know sometimes there are multiple BOs for properties or LLCs and holding companies, and you all have to get together to go into a bank branch to, create accounts. It's just, sometimes you just don't have all of that time for that. And so really with Relay, we make it a lot easier because you can make that application online. If you have all the information on hand, all of your EINs, your docs, your addresses, all that stuff, you can just start an application online, invite your, collaborators, your co-founders, your additional business owners. You can really create those Profit First accounts really easily as well. We can have up to 20 checking accounts in Relay. So it definitely covers those 5 foundational Relay accounts, Profit First accounts, sorry, and then allows you to customize and create additional ones as well. And then we'll also get into the ease of collaboration and the percentage-based transfers in just this next part here. Yeah, Brianna, I spent a lot of time setting up with Chase Bank. I hear about that all the time because like with traditional banks, you got to go in together with everybody and book an appointment. You also have to sometimes go in and send a wires at certain branches as well. Like you can't do that online. Spoiler alert, you can send wires online in Relay. So that definitely saves you a lot of time. Can you have 20 accounts under the same LLC? Yes. So the 20 accounts is under each LLC, and you can have multiple LLCs in Relay. So it's really super customizable. It depends on how you set up your properties and your LLCs. I know there's like different ways to do it. Okay, enough of me talking. I want to show you guys the Relay demo. Before I go in, I just want to make sure, do you guys see my demo screen now?
Yes.
Yeah, or do you still see the slides? Okay, cool. You see the demo screen. Cool. Awesome. So I have just logged into, how much are the wires? I'll get into that in just a little bit. So I've just logged into Relay. And so what I see here is you might see there's different organizations here. These are all separate business entities. So if you do have multiple LLCs, I know a lot of real estate investors will have multiple LLCs. They'll have a holding account and then they have an operating LLC. Or like sometimes we just have like serial entrepreneurs that have a real estate investment and then they'll have another side hustle LLC, whatever it may be. What's really great about Relay is everything, I access all of my account information under one centralized login. So really great because if I had 10 LLCs at, Chase, I would have 10 different logins. for them. And so this just helps me kind of streamline my financial tools in my organization a little bit. But what's really great is I'm going to go into one of the accounts and kind of show you guys what it looks like. So in this account here, we have like a standard bank feed here, which shows you all of the information. But what's great is when you go into the accounts page, you can kind of see this is the multi kind of account setup I was talking about earlier. And it's really easy for you to kind of go in and add an account. I just hit add account. I name the account. I pick, do I want a checking account or a savings account? You can have up to 2 savings accounts. And then I pick who on my team has access to the account. And then I create it, hit save, and it's kind of ready to go. And as you can see here, each account does have its own account number. And so that's great because like sometimes I know like you can share different account numbers that have people transfer money into the corresponding account. It's just super helpful. And so this account here is definitely set up to look, it's like modified profit first. So I have my income account, I have an operating expense account, I have an owner's pay, I have profit, and I have taxes as well. And I can also reorder these however I like if I want to kind of reorganize it as well. And when kind of like setting up your Relay account, you probably may ask like, how do you transfer money into Relay? Most folks that have a Relay account, they probably already have an existing like personal bank account or even an existing business bank account. And so it's really easy to connect an external bank account and then to do an ACH pull. We connect with a lot of other banks, so we're really friendly with other banks as well. Or if you want to initiate a wire from your bank or into Relay or an ACH, you can do that way as well, but you might incur some fees based on what your sending bank charges. But if you do an ACH pull via this like connect external bank, that is free to do on Relay. Cool. You can transfer money from Relay to other bank accounts. Yes, you definitely can do that. Zelle, great question about Zelle. I know a lot of people in the real estate estate space use this. We currently do not have Zelle, but it is in our product roadmap. So we are working on that right now. Zelle is like a system that's created by some of the big banks. So they haven't offered it up for fintechs like Relay to kind of offer that yet, but we are in negotiations to kind of have that set up, hopefully by the end of this year. So that is coming because we've gotten that request. That's probably like the most common request. But even though we don't have Zelle, I will show you guys how you can kind of send payments on Relay today. And so really easy, you come in, you pick like a payee. So you can set yourself up as a payee if you want to pay yourself. You can set up all your other vendors up as payees here as well. And then in terms of payment methods, we have next day ACH for free. We have same day ACH if you want it for like a small fee now. There's 3 different tiers in Relay, and you'll notice that depending on which tier, this account that I'm showing you guys right now is the starter tier. So there's no monthly fees, and there are fees for sending certain payments. But there are no fees to receive any money, like no incoming wire fees or anything like that. But aside from next day ACH, we do also have domestic wires. That's $5. I know a lot of wires happen in the real estate space, so probably interested in that. So domestic wires are $5. I think at traditional banks, they can be as expensive as $50. It really just depends on which other bank you are using with. And then we also have the option to do international wires as well and do foreign C conversion with international wires. International wires are interesting because there's like 2 types. And so the reason you see 2 different fees here is because with a local network wire, they're not trackable, but you can send local international wires to Canadian, euros, pound, and I think Australian dollars. And then everything else would fall under the SWIFT, but it is a bit more expensive. So if you don't need to do that and you can ACH, I always recommend do ACH. Or hopefully wait until one day we have Zelle and then you can use that as well. And the last way you can kind of send money on Relay is through checks. We do checks a little bit differently here. Relay will print and mail the checks on your behalf. They are free, but they do take a bit longer time in terms of settling. So that is definitely a con for the checks. We do also have third-party checks now, so you can kind of enable that in Relay as well. If you want to say, pay a cleaner through a third-party check, that is an option as well. Cool. The other really cool thing is, I'm going to see if I can show this in this account. I might actually go to a separate account to show you guys really quickly. But a really cool thing about our payment stuff is that say you're adding a payee in here. Maybe it's a cleaner. Let's use a cleaner for an example. I'm paying them out of my operating expense account. I want to pay them via ACH. And then let's just say I'm paying them, I don't know, $1,000 right now. Say this is the very first time I'm entering the details for my this payee, this cleaner. What's really cool about Relay when you kind of set up a new payee is that if you have the information, like their bank account and all the routing numbers and all that stuff, you can definitely enter that manually yourself. Or what I always like to do is I would like to request that the person actually inputs the details themselves, because then if I enter it wrong, it's not really my fault. And also, at the same time, I can check off this requirement for a W-9 form. If you do work with contractors and say a cleaner is a contractor sometimes, depending on your setup, you do need W-9 forms for tax reasons. And so with Relay, what's great is that you can request them right from the get-go before you even pay somebody, so that when 1099 season comes in January, your tax advisor or you yourself are not chasing these people for their W-9 forms. You actually already have it on file and you can just download them off Relay. Cool. I am seeing Lizette's question here. I already have a Relay account. If I open more accounts for my other businesses, then will I use the same login? You can if you want to use the same login. So if you want to use the same email and password for all of your Relay accounts, here's what I recommend you do when you to create a new account. So log into your current Relay account, and then if you go into the settings section, and then there should be an ability here to kind of, actually, I think we changed this recently. So when you log into Relay now, what happens is you can now add, it should say add another business instead of add another client, which you see on screen. And so you should be able to now do that. And that's how you get all the logins under the same login. And if you made a mistake and you want us to merge an account and to like a one login together, say you use two different emails, but you want them all under one account, just email our support team and they can do that for you. I also want to show you guys the bank fee that from earlier. What's really cool is, say a lot of the times if you're a business owner, eventually you have a team or you're like spending stuff on the business card, you'll see these transactions kind of coming into your bank feed. Sometimes you look back at it and you're like, oh, I don't remember what that was. So as I'm looking at these, I'm like, Shell, Meta, okay, I know what those are. But then sometimes you might see a transaction like Sutter Stockton and be like, oh, I actually do not remember what Sutter Stockton is. The great thing about Relay is if you make a purchase on a debit card or one of our credit cards, we have really detailed transaction data about that transaction. So we tell you things like uh, whose card that was used on. We give you the category. So Sutter Stockton is actually a parking lot. So I can see here that this is a parking fee probably. It gives you the phone number, the official website, and even the location of where that parking fee took place. And so this is really great information if you are working with an accountant and bookkeeper and they're trying to close the books. As your team grows as well, like you just like have more people like using corporate cards. It's good to keep track of these things sometimes as well. And so it's just really helpful. And I find that even with my own personal banking, sometimes the transaction data is messy. Like I don't know what it is. And so we really try to keep this like detailed and give you as much information as you want as well. And the great thing is when you make a purchase on a credit card or a debit card on Relay, we actually have receipt capture as well. So I can actually attach a receipt to this and have that sorted within Relay. And if you know with the IRS, you have to actually store business receipts, $75 and above. And so that is super helpful as well. If you are the card holder, you actually get a text or an email and you can just like upload your receipt that way into the Relay app or like forward it via email as well. So super handy. Again, another like collections or like accounting thing that really helps to keep you organized as a business owner.
I think with that, my bookkeeper loves the receipt portion of it, that she can get it. And I think it's perfect, guys. Like if you have partnerships, and this is always the tricky part of it. I don't want my partner to have access to the bank account. Well, give them a business card, and then that way you can see which partner is spending what money, and you can literally have different like permissions that so we will touch on too. So this worked perfect for a partnership as well.
Yeah, exactly. So what's great is like we have different permission levels on Relay. And so like Kalisha just mentioned, like you might have a partner who's like not super involved, but they're still a business owner. They want access to things, but they don't want the ability to do anything. And so you can give them read-only access. If you're working with a bookkeeper, most bookkeepers only need read-only access because they're just coming in, checking the transactions, making sure everything's syncing with the bookkeeping software. So you can give them that permission. You yourself, you'll probably be an admin because you're a business owner. Any other folks that own like more than 15% of the business should be really an admin. And then maybe as your team grows, if you eventually have like a manager or like a CFO that's just helping you pay bills, they can be a bill pay, permission level, or even like a manager as well. And that way they can do a few more things, but you're not giving them the full keys, to the house. The other thing is like if you are a business that does a lot of check deposits, you can give someone just deposit only so they can just deposit checks on your behalf as well. I know for certain businesses that makes sense. And the other thing is cardholder access. So like I have access to my Relay account only because I have a corporate card. And that's the only thing I see. I can only see my card transactions and I can only upload receipts. That is it. Now we were talking a lot about profit first earlier. So I do want to show you guys auto transfer rules. So auto transfer rules is something that we had created when we kind of like did our partnership with Profit First, because this was one of the biggest pain points for a lot of Profit First folks, trying to figure out how to move 15% into taxes, 50% into like all these other accounts. Like they had to do this manually all the time. And so we have this Profit First rule where you can now come in. I'm going to nickname this Profit First rule. And then I can now set a frequency. It's like, let me say, if you're following the traditional Profit First book, it's twice monthly on the 1st and the 15th of every single month. Or, if maybe you're just starting out and you want to do this every week, you can change the frequency, pick the frequency that works for your business, and then say, if you remember with Profit First, everything flows into the income account. What this auto transfer rule does, it will then move money from income account into any other account you want within the same Relay LLC for you using percentages. And so let's say for me, for this auto transfer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep $0 in my income account because, there's no minimum balances charges in Relay. I'm just going to zero out the whole income account. So what this does is every single week on Monday, I'm going to keep $0 in my income account and move all of the money above $0 into my other accounts. I'm going to do 50% for operating expenses. I'm going to do 30% for payroll, which includes my owner's pay and employees that I might have. I'm going to do 15% for taxes. And then let's pretend there's a profit account here. That last 5% is going to go into profit. So that's how I can kind of set up this profit first rule. If I want to customize it with more accounts, you can do this and you can change it to like 3%, 1%. Maybe you start off profit with 1%. You create this auto transfer rule, you save it, and then you can come back and edit this at any time. So say, remember earlier we were saying we want to do 1% with profit. Let's start that off. But then eventually I want to grow that to 5%. So whenever you're ready to make that change and adjustment, you can come back here and edit. But the beauty of this is you set this rule up, you let it run in the background, and you don't have to do those calculations with a spreadsheet or with a calculator every single week or every single month anymore yourself. Cool. QuickBooks interest. Let me go back to the accounts page. So we do offer interest on our Relay accounts. So I mentioned earlier that you can have up to 2 savings accounts. And so you can earn interest based on the combined amount of money in your Relay account. Actually, the interest rates now are tied to like the different tiers you're on. So the starter tier has a separate interest rate. The grow tier, the interest rate is 1.75%. And then you can earn 3.03% if you're on the scale tier, which is a more advanced plan. There's like a monthly fee on that. So it depends. You can pick what's makes the most sense for your business. But you can earn interest on accounts, and the interest amount is based on the tier that you're in. And is it QuickBooks friendly? It definitely is QuickBooks friendly because we integrate directly with QuickBooks Online and Xero. And so if I go into settings and integrations here, you can see that you can integrate with a bunch of different tools here. With QuickBooks Online and Xero specifically, Relay was initially built for accountants and bookkeepers and their clients. So we have some really deep like bank feed and bill pay integrations to QuickBooks Online directly into Xero. And these are direct integrations, meaning that like we built directly into QuickBooks and Xero's like ecosystem. There's no middle app. which is the case for some other banks. Like we built directly into their infrastructure. So what happens is like the data is more clean, there's no duplicate transactions, and you don't have issues where you have to reconnect the bank feed. And these are things that if you're an accountant, you definitely understand. Yeah, I see, Kalisha, you nodding there. So I feel like you've experienced that before.
Yeah, because mine is connected with my bookkeeper connect Intuit and HubDocs, because I need HubDocs for the statements for her to do bank recon.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Awesome. I also want to mention, so we have this new section that's called Getting Paid now on Relay. This is where our payment links and our invoice feature kind of now lives. So with any Relay plan, you will have access to invoicing. If you want advanced invoicing features, those are only available in like the higher tiers. But for a basic plan, you can still create an invoice and send it off to a client, to a vendor, anybody that needs to pay you. And so it's really easy to kind of like set up now. So you come in, you hit create an invoice. You can kind of add the details here. So this is like your current bank details, but if you want to change the address here of your business, you can edit that as well. So the first step for creating an invoice is to create like a payee. So you can create a new contact in here. So let's say I'm just gonna select Robin in this case, and I need to, she needs to pay me. And so you can create an issue date, you can pick a payment date as well, and then figure out and add in what it is that she pays me. So let's say Robin is like my marketing consultant and she did like a social media analysis for me. Social media audit. I can write that in here. I can say there was one, I don't know, it was like $1,000, whatever it is. I can add tax in now. I'll create like a new tax system or code here. And then if there was anything else, I can add additional things here. Maybe she did like social media consulting as well. And it was like 2 hours. And it was like, I don't know, 250 each. So that's 500. Oh, sorry, it should be 250 like that. Add that in there. And then you can also create a discount if there was a discount that you want to apply to this invoice as well. And now you can kind of edit what type of like payment options you would like to receive. Now, I will note that some of these options have fees attached to them, and they're all like kind of noted here. Credit card and debit card, even though it says coming soon, is already available on Relay. So this is a demo environment, so it doesn't match like the true Relay environment perfectly. But for credit and debit, it's 2.9% plus a 30-cent fee. Pay by bank, 0.79% fee. Wires, ACH free. And so take a look at the different accounts. Like I said, the different tiers will have different like kind of like pricing structures for these payment options. But there is always a free option. ACH is always a free option, so I always recommend that for business owners. And then add a memo, and you can attach a file to this and essentially review your invoice and then kind of send it off to to whoever needs to pay you. So pretty simple to kind of create. This is a net new feature for us, but a lot of folks are super excited about invoicing. So give it a try. If you ever have any feedback, let us know. Cool. I'm going to discard these changes. And then I think the other thing that's like net new is like you can now automatically like code your expenses based on your like chart of accounts. And so for a bookkeeper and accountant, super helpful. So what happens is, I mean, if you're a business owner, then you work with an accountant, you know there's like a chart of accounts, a categorization system that every business has, and that kind of is set up in QuickBooks or whatever accounting software you use. You can now kind of set this up in Relay and like start the categorization in Relay now, and it will sync back to your accounting software. So this is a cool thing too, that we have like redesigned this page since the last time, I think since like last year. And so this is a new feature as well. If it's something that you're a more advanced business owner, you work with an accountant and bookkeeper, definitely something that is super helpful as well. Cool. And then I just want to highlight, you can have all this access to all the support resources here. We do have a phone line. And so our team is available 9 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because we also have a West Coast team. So you can always call us whenever if you have any questions. Cool. I'm going to jump out of the demo now and then just cover like a few quick things. This is the new structure fee of pricing. So like I mentioned, we have starter, which is There's no fee, $0 a month. But there are some fees associated with sending certain like wires and same day ACH, as I noted. And then Grow tier is $30 a month. So there is like a monthly fee for that, but you get higher interest rates, you get lower fees for certain payment options. And we're also slowly releasing like new features like advanced bill pay and expenses and advanced invoicing features that will be in this new tier. And then Scale is for the more advanced business owners. I'm thinking like 1 million plus in revenue. A lot of the features here are kind of coming soon, but you do get 50 checking accounts. You have the highest rates and the lowest like payment fee options across the board. But this is like a new pricing structure that we have kind of like rolled out recently, really to match like where you are on your business journey. I find that with a lot of the folks that I talk to, Starter is a great place to start because especially if you're just starting out, you still have access to a lot of things for free. And then if you really need Grow in the future for some of those more advanced features, then you can consider that as well. And then lastly, in terms of what you need to set up, social insurance, social security number, government issued ID. If you're not in the US, but your business is registered in the US, you can still use Relay, but we will need your passport information during the sign up process. EIN, doing business as if you're a sole prop. So these are some of the things that you'll need in terms of signing up. And then I will say, if you do want to sign up, please sign up using Kalisha's code here, and I'm gonna pop in the link into the chat because if you use this code, you do get a $50 bonus. And so take a look if you are interested in Relay, if you don't already have a Relay account there. Perfect. So you can take a look, scan this QR code as well. Awesome. I'm gonna leave the screen here, but I'm gonna pause for Q&A to see if there are any questions. I feel like I've addressed most of them in the chat, but I'm just gonna scroll.
See, I think I have one that I wanted to ask as well.
Yes.
And just I think it could be super simple, but I want to know like what would you say to maybe someone in the chat who is juggling debt and they kind of feel guilty for paying themselves first or want to pay off debt? Like what would be your recommendation?
Great question. I'm not a financial expert, so this is just my thoughts. So don't take this as financial advice. But I think it depends on the type of debt it is. Like how high is the interest rate? There's different types of debt, right? So depending on what that is, you would want to weigh the options of paying that down first if it's like super, high interest, for example, versus paying yourself. But at the end of the day, like if this is your main business, and you do need that income, then paying yourself is very important, but start to build that nest egg, right? Like I think if you did have a lot of debt in your business, which is the case for a lot of businesses, they buy equipment, they get loans, that sort of stuff. I think what you could do is you could set up an account for debts in Relay and start siphoning off money every single month, putting it into that account. Again, it can be as low as 1% if you really don't have that much, if you're super cash strapped, but build that habit and maybe over time you can increase that. It's the same strategy that I would use to build a reserve account, right?
Okay.
But I think debt you would want to pay off first before you even build a reserve, right? And so do it that way. I have worked with some folks who do have that debt account. And then the other advice for that is like, do not get a credit card. Like you should get a debit card and just use what's in your business bank account. Don't try to get a credit card as well.
Yeah. No, I love that answer. And the reason why I asked you is because I know, again, people would think you can only do the bank account for real estate stuff. Like you can do it for anything, call it whatever it is that you want to call it. My last question would be, what would you say is the most common mistakes entrepreneurs make when using the profit first method? Or
Profit
if you
first.
see any actually.
I feel like the hardest thing with Profit First is staying consistent and actually following it. I think the whole premise behind Profit First is like if you give yourself a whole chocolate, it's like there's actually psychology behind it. And so I think it's called Parkinson's law. So if you give yourself a whole chocolate cake, put that in front of me, I'm gonna eat the whole thing. But if you give me one slice, I will just eat one slice. So how that translates into a bank account is that by siphoning your money into multiple bank accounts, you're essentially putting each of those categories into smaller plates, is what Mike calls it. So I would say that if you know that you might overspend, like put those, like use the categories, follow them, and do not dip into the ones that you cannot be dipping into, like taxes.
Yeah.
For example, like I think that one's the most important. And if you have a debt account, like that one you shouldn't be touching either. So I think the consistency is like the hardest part. And a lot of folks also think that they need to start out with the percentages that Mike talked about from the get-go, like 20% into profit. That is not the case. Don't let that deter you. If you need to start using 1%, do that. Or sometimes you can't even put aside 1% for profit. If you're just starting out, maybe you're just gonna have an income account, an operating expense account, a tax account, and like an account to pay yourself. Sometimes you can't even pay yourself, but like make sure you set aside money for taxes and you build your way up.
Yeah.
And if you can't really do that, sometimes you need to look at your business structure and your rates and your prices, and maybe there's an issue there. Maybe it's a business model issue as well. So those are things I would say to consider. And don't like be consistent, I think.
Mhm. Oh man. Any questions, guys? Speak now or forever hold your peace. There's no right or wrong question. We're here to learn. As entrepreneurs, we only care about, our focus is always money, 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 money. But then you don't know how to manage the money. You don't, all those things, which is very, very crucial in having a very successful business as well. But let me know what you guys think. Drop a fire in the chat for Zoe to thanking her for showing up, for providing so much value as well, and sharing so much detail about how as entrepreneurs we can learn how to manage our cash flow. I see here that Lizette has a question. She said, I do have a bookkeeper already. Any thoughts on how to transition her to all those accounts going forward?
Great question. So we can demo bookkeepers. Like Relay started off being offered to accountants and bookkeepers. So what I would actually recommend is because you have a bookkeeper, tell her to sign up for a Relay demo. Here's the link that I just put in the chat. And then our team, we have a dedicated team that will actually walk her through Relay and all of the features so that we can essentially help to pitch Relay and all the benefits and the features to your bookkeeper. Because if you're sold, you want to make sure that your bookkeeper is comfortable with everything as well. So that's what you recommend. The other thing is a lot of bookkeepers don't know how to do bookkeeping for Profit First. So if that's the case, but you're looking for someone to help you with that, then I would go to a Profit First professional. They are the ones who are certified by Profit First to essentially give advice about how to do Profit First properly. And I've seen a lot of businesses, like million-dollar, multi-million-dollar businesses that have worked with Profit First professionals to get to that stage. So that is another option as well. But if you want to keep your same bookkeeper, but you want to show them Relay, I would definitely sign up for a Relay demo.
We got another question.
Okay, another question from Brianna. If I wanted to open an account with my husband, would that process be any different? Would we be able to have his LLC, my LLC, and the LLC that we have together in one shared account? Great question. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding your thing correctly. So it sounds like for you, Brianna, you have your own LLC, your husband has an LLC, and then you guys have a shared LLC, right? If that is the case, what would happen is when you log in, you will see your LLC and your shared LLC. He will see his LLC and the shared LLC. But if you also each have access to each of your like own personal LLCs, you can also see all three. So it just depends. And so I know a lot of business owners like depend, especially real estate folks too, like they have different business partners for each LLC. You will only see what you are a business owner of or what you've been given access to, view only, manager access, whatever it is. So your setup might be slightly different from what your husband sees. It's totally customizable.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Any other
Okay.
questions, you guys? Shout out to you guys for showing up.
Wait, I
And
do see one more question from somebody who said that his sister signed up for a Relay account, but hasn't finished yet. Is it too late to switch to Kalisha's promo code? It's not too late. What might happen is if you want to email Kalisha, I think you have access to
yeah,
share your email. And I'll share mine as well. Like email the two of us. And then what I can do is take a look at our back end and see if I can get you like attributed it properly. And then that way your sister can get that $50 bonus too. So email me essentially.
Okay, and then Brenna has one more.
Do we offer military perks? We don't actually right now. I know there are a lot of other traditional banks that do offer that and like waive certain fees, but we don't currently right now. Relay is still a startup, and although we're growing really quickly, I don't have those perks to offer to you right now. I'm so sorry. But great question.
Yeah.
What I will say is, Brianna, like sometimes a lot of folks use Relay as like just their operating account to implement Profit First, and they still keep all of their traditional banking relationships with another bank as well. I think that's a great idea because it diversifies your banking, like your financial institutions. And also, like, we don't do certain things at Relay. We don't do loans right now. And so it's sometimes good to like have multiple banks. And just like you can just transfer the money back and forth.
There you go. We got
Do you have
more.
to keep a minimum? No, no minimum balances.
No.
You can literally have $0 in your account. We will not close it unless you want us to close it.
That's the beauty about having accounts on Relay. That's the beauty for sure. And I think there's no limit on transfer because I think I've transferred $5 once too. So
Limits on, sorry, what transfers?
like doing transfers from to my Relay account or from my Relay account. I think I've done like $5 once to test it out at the beginning, and I was like, oh, this actually still works.
Yeah, there's no like, there's unlimited, like, there's no like, we won't charge you after you made like 20 transfers or transactions, for example. There's no like fee for that.
Yeah. Any more questions? Feel free to unmute yourself in 5, 4. I need to stop doing that countdown. There we go. That's a great question, Jorge. Is there a maximum amount of money you can transfer per day or month?
There actually is. So when you sign up for Relay, you can actually see the limits associated to your account. And so what you can do is you can easily request a limit increase whenever. So the max amount goes up quite high, and so it will cover most businesses. But what is unique with every single business is depending on like what information you give us, and if you connect external bank accounts during your sign up process, you might get a different limit. So my tip is definitely connect an external account if you do, because that gets you a higher limit. And it happens at the very end of the sign up process. But if you don't do that, when you create your Relay account and it gets approved, you can go into the account section and see what those limits are. And if they're not high enough for you, then you can simply request a limit. We will just ask you for some documentation and then likely approve that. Since you guys are part of this community as well, if you run into any issues and you want anything expedited, also email me as well or Kalisha, and we can help you expedite any issues.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Zoe, for being here and showing up and just doing the demo. I think that was extremely helpful because a lot of times there's presentation, but actually seeing it for yourself, how it works, what the backend look like, is extremely helpful. And on behalf of everyone who is here and persons who are watching after the fact, I want to say thank you. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to this continued partnership that we have. And definitely, if any one of you guys have follow-up questions, reach out to me as well, and I can help you navigate the platform as best as possible. That way we're not all bombarding Zoe for simple things that I can also help you with too, because I've been using this for a long time. And as much as I made the most common mistake that having multiple accounts was driving me insane, I just found out today that I could actually merge the logins as well. So if I'd known that, I would have done that a long time ago, but thank you guys for joining. The recording will be available as well. So I'll post that in the community and send it out via email, even for persons who registered and was not able to make it. Thank you guys for showing up, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your evening. Bye, guys.
Thanks everyone for showing up. Thanks for having me.